Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ruben Young, aka the Young Electrician. Here on this podcast, we like to see electricians grow, not just in the field, but also in their personal lives. We believe that your personal life and your work life shouldn't compete, but complement each other. With that said, before we hop into today's episode, I want to announce the winner of the competition this month to win the Journeyman Prep Book and the NEC. The winner is Daniel Reyes. Daniel, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the email we sent you, reply back to that email. We need a little bit of your information so we can know where to send these things. And congratulations. Thank you guys, everybody who signed up for it. I appreciate you guys. I wish I could send you guys all Journeyman Prep books, but we can't at this point in time in the Young Electrician podcast. With that said, today we're going to be talking about what 15 years in the trade has taught me. I'm going to give you about 6, 7, 8 things that I've learned over the years that I think you could put into practice or just add to your arsenal of wisdom to help you further your career. So let's hop into it. Number 1, you get from the trade what you put in. There have been times in my life where the only thing I've put in was an 8 hours day's work. I would go there, I would work, and the job would move forward, but my career wouldn't. I would get the job done, and the job site would move forward, but my career wouldn't. And then there was other times where I was really focused on not just learning how to be an electrician and how to install, but how does the job site work? How do you read blueprints? How do you make material lists? How do you run crews? How do you talk to other trades? How do you talk to the inspector? When I started trying to focus on these other areas of being an electrician that would move my career forward, I not only moved the job site forward, I moved my career forward. So you're going to notice that the guys who are focused on the weekend, the guys who are focused on what they're doing after work, and honestly, there's nothing bad about that. We need people that just want to work. Now, if that's all you want to do, your career is going to go to a certain point and it's going to stop. At a certain point, you're going to have to start putting in more to get more out of it. Because if all you do is work and you don't think like, oh, well, what company could I work for that's going to actually pay me more for just being a journeyman? Or what company can I work for that's going to give me better benefits? Or how could I position myself to be a foreman, to be a leadman, to be a project manager? Something like that. I remember when I started off, there was an electrician that started off a little bit after me. And nobody really wanted him on their crew because he was completely green and he knew nothing. That was 15, 16 years ago. That guy is now a project manager at CSI in the Union in Local 11. And I'm super proud of this guy. I seen this dude come from knowing absolutely nothing, and he put the work in. Sometimes it paid off really big. Sometimes he lost, but he knew what he wanted, and he went for it. And now that guy, he's up there. He's doing it. His family's taken care of. He's taken care of because he put the right amount of effort into it. 2, your quality of work and how fast you complete something is partly your skill and partly your tools. Because somebody could have all the right skills but lack the tools, and it's still going to suffer. The guy with the majority of the skills and the wrong tools, he's going to get the job done probably quicker than somebody else, but he's still going to suffer for it. The person without the skills and all the right tools is going to suffer because he just doesn't know what he's doing. So you got to understand, you have to build your skills as an electrician. But at the same time, you should build your tool roster. Make sure you have the right tools. Make sure you are asking your company for the right tools. Make sure you're paying attention when you see somebody else doing a particular task and they're using a tool that you're not familiar with. Ask them, dude, why are you using that? Does this make it easier? How do you use that tool? Put that effort into learning and adding tools to your roster. 3, your home life and your work life, or your life outside of work and your work life, will affect each other. You can't compartmentalize your life. It just doesn't work. You have to figure out not how to have a balance, but at least a harmony. How do I harmonize my home life with my work life? And I'm telling you, it takes effort, but there's a way to do it. And it takes some fine tuning every once in a while, just like everything does. Anything that you want to run smoothly takes some fine tuning. But I want you to know your home life will affect your work life, and your work life will affect your home life. And that's why it's really important to have some boundaries in your life. There's a really good book called Boundaries. Highly recommend it. It teaches you to put proper boundaries in your personal life, relationships, work life. And I think it's just healthy to have boundaries. Your boss wants you to work all the time or wants you to stay late all the time, but your marriage is suffering. The worst thing I think that could happen for me is I become extremely successful and I lose my marriage. Or I have this super great relationship with my wife, but I'm just a failure in my career. It's like, well, how do I do both? How do I focus my life to have a good marriage, a great family, great home life? I'm there. And a great career. That's just me though. That's what I want. You might want something different, but I want you guys to know your home life and your work life will affect each other, and you have to be mindful to keep them both in check. 4, the classroom never ends. The classroom never ends. As an electrician, you're always learning. If you're going to grow as an electrician, I remember one time there was an old timer. He's been in the trade for probably 25, 30 years or something. And I remember he told one of the journeymen that's probably been in the trade for like 6 or 7 years, and they were having this little confrontation. And the older guy, he was doing something wrong, and probably like an old method that he learned, and he didn't know really the right way to do it. He's just been doing it for a long time. He told the young journeyman, he says, dude, I've been doing this for 20 years. And the young journeyman says, you've been doing it wrong for 20 years. And I thought that was hilarious. But that could be the case if you do not continue to educate yourself. You cannot do things 20 years from now the way you're doing it today. I cannot do things today the way I did it 10, 15 years ago. 10 or 15 years ago when I started and I was doing residential and I was, wiring up lights in corridors, there was no 0 to 10 on most of the job sites I was on. That didn't come on until later. A lot of the job sites didn't have 0 to 10. That means, lighting control, the whole Title 24 stuff. When I first started, wiring lights was way easier because there was no Title 24. There was, in most places, there was no dimming system. There was no control system. And if you run it that way now in a corridor, you're going to get flagged for it. You're not going to pass inspections. You're going to pass final. You need lighting control, Title 24, and stuff like that. So you have to constantly educate yourself. The classroom never ends. The more you educate yourself and the better you educate yourself, the further you'll go. And it's not just about electrical. It's also about other things in life, relationships, how to negotiate your salary, how to negotiate a position in a company, how to have those soft personal skills when it comes to talking to other people, especially clients. If you educate yourself, how to negotiate, how to make deals, if you continue to educate yourself, because the classroom never ends, your career will only benefit from it. 5, never burn bridges. If you could help it, do not burn bridges with company. You might go through a few companies over the course of your life, but never, even if the company didn't do you well, never be petty and want to have the last word. I remember years ago, one of the guys was telling me about somebody who just really didn't like his time there, and I think he didn't like one of the foremen, and he was getting ready to leave. He was on his last 2 weeks, and for his last 2 weeks, he was wiring up all the lights in the corridors on like 6 floors. And this guy should have got in trouble for this. I don't know if he did, don't know if he didn't, not sure how it ended. But what this guy did was he basically wired up all the hots and neutrals and grounds together in one wire nut. And then just covered it with the light, covered with the light he was trimming out. And they turned the circuit on, and that could have killed somebody. It could have hurt somebody. And that is a bridge burn. This guy wanted the last word. Could have put somebody's life in danger. But he'll never get hired there again. If somebody that he worked with there is working at another company, and then they see this guy's name come up on a resume, or he walks in, he's not getting the job. Nobody wants to work with somebody that's petty and dangerous. So try not to burn bridges. The world might be a little bit smaller than you think. And for some of you hearing this, you'll probably never see somebody from one of your old companies again. But you might. You might. And if in the future you run into somebody, or you need a company, whatever, an old company that you used to work for, if ever your paths cross again, you will be grateful to have been the better person and not burned that bridge and did what was right and what was professional, because it might either come back to bite you or come back to reward you. So pay attention to that. 6, bosses want solutions, not excuses. I think if you can learn the difference between an excuse and a reason why you can't do something, it will do you well. So let's just break down what this is. What is an excuse? An excuse is, at the end of the day, you didn't get anything done, or you got very little done. And he's like, what happened? And you're like, well, I couldn't do it because of this. This was slowing me down. That's an excuse, because when that thing started slowing you down, even if you were like halfway through the day, you should have brought that up to your boss and be like, hey, I don't know how to get around this. It's an excuse when you bring it up at the end of the day after wasting an entire day. Now, a reason why you can't move forward is, it's all dependent on when you tell your boss. Beginning of the day starts, you start trying to, put your work in, and then this obstruction comes, whatever it is, and you can't move forward and you don't have a solution for it. You need to go to your boss. You need to go to your boss. Now, what your boss wants is solutions. He wants you to try to think up, what is a solution to this? And then you bring him that solution. If you can't bring him that solution, then you need to come and say, hey, I thought of it. These were my ideas, but I don't think any of them is going to work, or none of them is working. I need your help so we can move forward. Your boss would rather you come and bring this issue to him so he can help you solve it, instead of you wasting the whole day. So I think I'm conflating two ideas with this one, but I think they're both important. One is, your boss wants solutions, not excuses. If you're the guy that always comes up to your boss when you run into anything and you don't try to figure it out, then you're just coming with excuses. I can't do it because this, I can't do it because that. It's like, hey, have you thought of this? You thought of that? You're like, no, it's not really my job to try to figure these things out. So try to solve the problem before you bring it to your boss. And you need to learn the difference between excuses and reasons. A reason is something you bring up to your boss, say, hey, I can't figure this out, I need your help. An excuse is something you bring up to your boss at the end of the day and say, this is why I couldn't do it. Hopefully that made sense. I know I conflated two different ideas, but they're both important. 7, you will never get anywhere you're not planning on going. You will never get anywhere that you are not planning on going. I know this isn't true across the board, because you might wind up in some cool places in your career and in your life, but the reality is, if you don't plan your career out, if you don't research companies, research positions, research different parts of the electrical trade and what you might want to do, and actually aim for it, then you're never going to get there. If you're wondering why your career is stuck where it's at, and you're just kind of in a limbo, and your career is not advancing, it's because you're not planning on going anywhere. If you don't plan on going anywhere, nothing's magically going to happen to you. You will never get to where you're not planning on going. If you make a plan to get somewhere, to be a foreman, to be a project manager, to be a contractor, to go back to school, to be an engineer, to do whatever it is you want to do, if you make a plan and you have a path, you'll get there. But if you don't make a plan, you don't have a path, you're going to stay where you are 90% of the time. 8, and this one might just be me. But I think this is important, so I'm going to add this in here. Put your family first. Put your family first. Companies are easier to replace than family. I know the divorce rate in the trades is pretty high, like other professions. I mean, the trade asks a lot of us, and a lot of times we're not sitting down and talking with our spouses about what it's going to cost us. And we're not really considering, is the success in this company or in this trade worth, am I able to do this and still do this at the same time? Because if you're married, if you're in a relationship, if you want that, then you have to tend to that. If you want to be an electrician, you have to tend to that. We are choosing this juggle. We are choosing it. We want both. So the easier one to put on a pedestal is your family. And I know it seems kind of hard, because we see in our career that, man, I could get further if I stay, if I work 10 hours, if I go to this different state, for a month and then come back and I see my family for a week or a weekend and then go back. Like, I could get us further financially. But how valuable is that when your family's gone? How valuable is that when your kids don't know who you are? And I know it's hard. I know it's hard. It sucks when you can't take an opportunity, and then you have to say no to your family because this season of your life you don't have the amount of money that would have came in from that particular position. But your kids don't want necessarily your money. Your kids want you. Your wife doesn't necessarily want your money. She wants you. They want the other things too, but you have to get them with the balance. And there's been times in my life where I had to say no to positions because my marriage means more to me than my career. So there have been times in my life where I had to turn down some opportunities because I care more about my family than I do about my career. And there's going to be some times where you're going to let your family down because you are trying to think through this and be wise and make the right decision, and maybe your wife doesn't understand, and you have to take this, you have to make a decision. And I do recommend men, women, when you're making a decision on your career, talk to your spouse. It might be a few conversations for you guys to see eye to eye. It might be that she's right or he's right. It might be that you're right, but if you want a good marriage, if you care about your family, if you care about your children, if you care about being able to do both, these things, you chose both. You chose a family and you chose a career. You have to steward both of them as well as you can. So I advise, talk to your spouse. Maybe they have to just accept that there's going to be a little less family time for maybe a few months. But, it's going to get you somewhere better. So with that said, guys, appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate all you guys. We have been getting a lot more followers and subscribers. That is super awesome. It means a lot to me. And I've been getting a lot of cool emails from you guys telling me, guys, how you've been encouraged by the podcast, how you've been passing your exams because you've been inspired. And that means the world to me. That is why I do this. Also, guys that are contractors, we are partnered with Jobber. So right now you are going to get 14 days free. The link's going to be in the description of this video. You can get 14 days free of Jobber. And then for 6 months, you're going to get 20% off. I think Jobber is awesome. I think it's a great tool for your servicing company, whether you're an electrician or anything, man. Maybe you got a cake business. You're making cakes, baking cakes and selling them. Or, maybe your wife's or your spouse on the side's got their little side hustle and they got their little contracting going and they're, I don't know, mowing lawns, whatever the heck they're doing. Jobber will help you guys out. You're not going to need a credit card. You're not going to need any bank information. You're not going to need any of that. You don't have to worry about them charging you after the 14 days. So I just recommend checking it out. And if you were going to check it out anyways, use our link because that's going to help us out and help this partnership go longer. So with that said, guys, best of luck in your career. Message us if you think you have a topic you want me to cover in regards to the electrical trade. With that said, have a good one. Peace.